Morning.
Welcome
Good morning.
to the RTC January 9th Metropolitan Planning Subcommittee meeting. Items 2 through 7 on the agenda are for possible action. Items 1, 8, 9 are discussion items. No action can be taken. The subcommittee can take items out of order or combine two or more items for discussion or remove any items from the agenda if they so wish. First item on the agenda is conduct a comment period for citizens' participation. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the committee? Public comment? No? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, items 2 and 3. These can be acted on with one motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Okay. Moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 4. Approve amendment Clark 1806 to the 2017-2040 Regional Transportation Plan for possible action.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Metropolitan Planning Subcommittee. As many of you are aware, back in February of 2017, the RTC adopted its Regional Transportation Plan, also known as Access 2040. Anytime there are major amendments that are requested by any of the sponsoring entities, we have to process an amendment to the Regional Transportation Plan and consequently the Transportation Improvement Program. So we did get a request from Nevada Department of Transportation to make amendment to, I think, 5 projects actually, to add the Harmon Hacienda high occupancy vehicle ramps, to add the US 95 Northwest Package 3C, to add US 95 southbound ramp extension to City Parkway, and then funding changes to the 215 I-15 system-to-system interchange, and a funding change to State Road 160 Blue Diamond Package 2. All the details are in the backup. Just as a procedural note, the RTC did an air quality conformity determination on it and found that these do not adversely affect air quality, so they are in compliance with the Clean Air Act and what we have to do to demonstrate as such. The other thing I should note is that we also ran a 30-day public comment period, which concluded yesterday, and we did not receive any public comments, correct? Yeah. This item has already, just due to the sequencing, we did take this item already to the Executive Advisory Committee, who recommended conditionally to the board to approve this. It will be on non-consent at the RTC board meeting this coming Thursday. Therefore, NDOT will be presenting this item in person to kind of go over those changes. We are looking for a recommendation from the committee on this action today, so then that way it can be part of the verbal report to the RTC board on Thursday.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. In favor? Aye. Item 5, receive a report on the City of Henderson Americans with Disabilities Act planning study.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal years 2016 and 2017 included the City of Henderson American with Disabilities Act planning study. The purpose of the study is to provide background research on demographics and provide a planning level ADA analysis of typical developments in the community. With us today to present is Mr. Mohammed Farhan, who's project manager on it. He'll kind of give a brief presentation of what the study's findings were. Farhan?
Good morning, Chairman and the committee. Mohammed Farhan, RTC Planning. So the City of Henderson ADA planning study, the purpose of the study is to really identify the barriers to access public rights of way in the City of Henderson and to allocate funds appropriately where those barriers are identified. And then the next step would be to kind of, provide guidance for the City of Henderson to prepare ADA transition plan. So 4 steps in the planning process is to analyze the existing conditions and do some public participation, to hear from publics what barriers are they facing, and perform some self-evaluation of the facilities and develop improvement strategies. To perform existing conditions analysis, gather some GIS data, and some population data. So about 291,000 in city of Henderson, 10.7% were disabled, and then about 16.5% 65 and over. And then that was the data collected on all those land use, right-of-way data, RTC transit data, employment data, demographics, some other demographic data. And then we have to geographically collect, from different sample areas. So we have identified in the scope of work commercial area, senior community area, school walking route, and a residential area. So this is one of the areas, Sunset and Stephanie. That's a commercial area which we identified to perform some self-evaluation. This is the Hampton and Anthem Parkway, which is the senior community sampling area. Heritage and College, which is the school route. Heather Drive, sorry. And then Robindale and Green Valley, which is the residential area. So these are 4 places we identified to collect some information on those barriers. And then in the meanwhile, to collect some, get some public participation in those areas. So we can get some input from public, what barriers they are facing. So when did the public survey, so on those 4 locations, Sunset Road and Stephanie, 15%, kind of reported facing some, barriers at College Drive and Heather Drive, 10%, and then Green Valley Parkway, Silver Spring, Robindale is 10% experience barriers, Hampton Road and Anthem Parkway, 7%, those were like what the survey we did. So in the meanwhile, as I identified those 4 locations, we did some, sampling, 3 signalized intersections, 3 miles of sidewalk, and 3 transit stops were selected on those locations. And this is just like a sampling of the iPad app, which was used to collect information. Colors identify the conditions of the sidewalk. Greens kind of show, it's okay, and then red shows have some problem areas. So this is just to show how the data was collected. And then we did, those collected data. Those locations were, prioritized. So these were like signalized intersection or unsignalized intersections. 1 to 4 was high priority, 5 to 8 medium priority, 9 to 13, and then for sidewalk, a different, 1 to 3 point scale was used. Transit stop, 5 point scale was used to identify the priorities. Self-evaluation, again, showing the curb ramps, showing what are the conditions, where they're lacking on those areas. On the self-evaluation, so signalized curb ramp issues, so cross slopes on the ramps greater than 2%, so 13 evaluated, 7 non-compliant. No color contrast on those, so 13 were evaluated, 7 non-compliant. Push buttons, similarly, clear floor space running, which is like a standard under the ADA and PROVAG. So it's greater than 2%, 18 evaluated, and 11 non-compliant. Unsignalized, again, no color contrast, 39 evaluated, 30 non-compliant. Non-texture contrast, 39 evaluated, and 30 non-compliant. Just kind of show where the improvements are needed. And those are just based on the prioritization, just to show the cost, rough estimate cost to improve those locations. Again, the sidewalk shows, uneven or the not enough, and the bus stop, hindrances on the sidewalk. Again, it just shows, the table shows the miles of, the length evaluation performed, high priority, medium priority, and low priority, and how many miles were compliant, and again, the cost of improvement sidewalk. Transit stops, again, evaluated, and this just shows, how the bench is like located on the sidewalk, and then the sign, transit stop is not under PROVAC compliance, so transit stop signage is non-compliant. Three evaluated, 3 non-compliant. Medium priority boarding area is non-compliant. 3 evaluated, 1 non-compliant. Medium priority. So just the cost based on the priority, and develop improvement strategies. So based on all the data collected, the next step is for the city is to really work on their comprehensive ADA transition plan, and how they're going to allocate their capital improvement program funds. Those would be the next steps. So with that, I thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
And so Farhan went into all of this detail, but just to kind of give you, the background as to why we partnered with the City of Henderson on this is, the Americans with Disabilities Act requires a transition plan to make sure that all public infrastructure is compatible for people with disabilities or accessible by people with disabilities. And an ADA transition plan is required. And so this was kind of a test case, for lack of a better term. We didn't do the entire city. It was just kind of a subset along 3 different road segments to see what would be the scale to expect, along that area, and then you can kind of extrapolate that out for a citywide initiative. And so it was, a partnership just to kind of get a feel for, the amount of work that would be required, the type of costs that might be involved, and kind of prepare the city of Henderson in developing their entire ADA transition plan, which again, is a federal requirement, which is a requirement for all the jurisdictions. Actually, if you have any public infrastructure whatsoever, it's required. And I think over 50 employees, I think, is the threshold, which most everyone in this room would qualify for. So, so that's kind of the purpose of the study. We don't require any action. This is just a planning study that was identified in the Unified Planning Work Program for informational purposes. Farhan will be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
And really, like Mr. Chairman, I just would like to add, this is like, will give City of Henderson initial guidance how to move forward, and doing the entire city will take some time because there's a lot of miles of roadway, and then the next step would be to just do that and allocate the funds really on the CIP. And those PROVAG is public rights of accessibility guidelines. They're still in the works, but they require you to kind of develop those ADA transition plans.
Great. Well, thank you. Yep. You don't need a motion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Item 6, adopt the draft interlocal contract for Metropolitan Transportation Planning among and between Clark County, the Nevada Department of Transportation, the City of Boulder City, City of Henderson, City of Las Vegas, City of Mesquite, City of North Las Vegas, and the RTC, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the current transportation bill, which is known as the FAST Act, and the regulations of the U.S. Department of Transportation require the development of a transportation plan and programs by the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada in our role as the Metropolitan Planning Organization. This must be done in cooperation with the cities of Southern Nevada, Clark County, and the Nevada Department of Transportation. In that role, the RTC must demonstrate compliance with the FAST Act and Title 23 of the U.S. Code to remain eligible for the receipt and utilization of transportation planning grants in accordance with applicable federal law and regulation. An interlocal contract is one of these requirements. So many of you who have been around for a while may have remembered that we went through this exercise about 10 years or so ago, back in April of 2008. So the existing contract interlocal agreement that we have between the RTC and all the local jurisdictions expires subsequently in April of 2018 this year. So what we did is Craig and his team, with assistance from Andrew, went through and just looked at, as you can imagine, there have been several transportation bills that have both, been approved and have since expired since 10 years ago. And so Andrew went through and updated all the federal regulation references to reflect kind of the current state of practice and what the regulations are today. So a lot of the update is really just kind of code revisions. One of the things that I do want to draw your attention to, there are a couple substantive changes that I would like to bring to your attention. So in the agreement itself, there is a, let me see, I should have highlighted the piece that I wanted to highlight. Okay, on page 3 of the agreement, at the bottom, you'll see that we kind of try to clarify the role and responsibility between kind of the Streets and Highways Department and the MPO related to the functionally classified system of streets and highways. I suspect that a lot of this would probably be of interest to the Public Works Departments in terms of, which facilities are eligible for which dollars, more or less. And then another piece was on the bottom of page 5, there was a new sentence that was added to establish and implement a performance-based planning and project selection process for the Regional Transportation Plan and Transportation Improvement Program as required by federal law or regulation. So, this idea is that we need to start moving as the federal law requires us to start moving towards a process that is kind of data-driven and we can measure performance of the investments that we're making, especially with the federal programs. And then the last thing I wanted to draw your attention to is at the top of page 6, we added a couple provisions that reflect some of the action that the board took about a year ago. For those of you that know, we have a Transportation Resource Advisory Committee is another new advisory committee to the RTC the last couple of years. And so this reflects some of the recommendations that came from that group that were approved by the board. And so they pretty much say that the RTC will implement project selection process that is value-based so that selected projects align with Southern Nevada's transportation priorities as identified in the Regional Transportation Plan, that the project selection process is transparent and fair so that it is clearly described and unbiased and is applied consistently to all potential projects and jurisdictions. And then it provides an efficient and equitable distribution of funds so that anticipated spending is distributed across the region based on multiple factors like public need, population, tax base, and other factors identified as strategies or intended outcomes of the RTP. So those are the kind of the most substantive changes that I wanted to draw your attention to. Craig, was there anything else that was noteworthy?
There are a few minor edits that we'll be making after talking with our attorney a little bit, just moving some text around and maybe some boilerplate language about Nevada laws applicable and severability so that if a part of the interlocal didn't work, the rest of it still holds. Things like that that will stay in. But and at this point, for the next couple of months, it's sort of a discussion. It's not like it's here's the document, sign off. It's show this, circulate this in your jurisdictions so that we can get it to a final point for adoption and for everyone to sign off on it.
And what we were thinking internally would be the sequencing of events is we would take it to our board first and get approval of our board to make sure, then that way you all have the assurance that our board is okay with it. Our board is obviously made up of the elected officials that represent your communities as well. So in theory, that would hopefully clear the path for getting that through each of your jurisdictions to sign off on it as well. You may have noticed that the last couple pages are the signature pages, so it would have to be signed by the chairperson or mayor of each of your jurisdictions. So I guess where we're at right now is really we're just kind of socializing this, making sure people are comfortable with the direction we're headed. If there are any substantive changes that need to be made from your perspective, let us know. And we'll be doing a similar thing through the Executive Advisory Committee, and then probably targeting it to take it to the board maybe in the March timeline. So then that way it gives us a little bit of time to run it through the jurisdictions as well.
Mr. Chairman, What's the timeline before this would be before our various jurisdictions, though, for action?
Sure. So we could, we were planning to take this to the Executive Advisory Committee at the end of this month as well. If we don't have any concerns from any of the local jurisdictions, we could actually advance this to the board as early as February, which would then give us between February and April to coordinate those, that process. If we do hear from folks that, we need to make some changes and we need to kind of cycle it back through each of the advisory committees, then we would be looking for probably a March approval by the board, which truncates the timeline that we have to take it through the jurisdictions. My hope is that we can run those concurrently, that we don't need to have, City of Las Vegas sign off on it before we take it to Clark County. We can kind of run it simultaneous, and then just have, a consolidated signature sheet at the end that can reflect all of that. I think last time it took a really long time because they did it kind of sequentially. They went to one jurisdiction first, then the next jurisdiction, then the next jurisdiction. I think we can probably streamline that process a little bit and just run it concurrently.
Any other comment or questions?
If this committee is comfortable with taking action on this item today, we'd be happy taking it, but if there's some unease on that, that's fine as well.
Okay, call for a motion. Anybody?
Motion to adopt?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 7, receive a report on the Southern Nevada Strong Planning Initiative.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think many of you are aware that the RTC became core administrator for Southern Nevada Strong in 2015. So we've been at this now for coming on 3 years. And so we'd like to, as kind of par for course, as part of this meeting, just give an update on some of the progress that's being made related to Southern Nevada Strong. And what I'd like to do is introduce Ms. Ray Lathrop, who will give you an update on some of the progress of Southern Nevada Strong since your last meeting.
Hi, good morning. I think we came before this committee last year to provide an update as far as how RTC had taken steps to become the core administrator and hire staff to implement Southern Nevada Strong regional plan. So since that last update, we've had an entire year of programming with a full staff, and so I wanted to give a little update as far as things that we've accomplished and some meetings that, some things we're very proud of. We've designed our department to kind of fulfill a few different functional roles, and so I'll go over some of those as well, in addition to identifying a few key priorities, just so that you can become a little more familiar with some of the work that we do. We've been looking at convening and coordinating as a regional entity around some of the issues that are pertinent to the regional plan, and also topics that are kind of have momentum and energy within our valley today. So we've been having a long conversation about how does our community become better at competing and developing grant applications for federal award and federal competitiveness. We've been having this conversation with our nonprofit community and our local governments, which are both vital to the implementation of Southern Nevada Strong. So we've been really proud of the work. We've created a framework that's been publicized, and then in 2018 we'll be doing a series of workshops to bring awareness to this issue that our state could be obtaining more federal grant application awards, and then also to build up the technical skills of what that looks like, both in the application process and then in managing more federal awards here in the Valley. Also under convening, we've been having a series of conversations and workshops around transit-oriented development. In 2017, we brought in a woman from Denver who does transit-oriented development within their community and how that really has shaped Denver. And we've been looking at other experts in other communities to design some workshops and some more understanding within our developer community and our local governments here around what transit-oriented development could be in Southern Nevada. We've also been working with MPO on a number of their planning projects, like livable centers, which I think you guys have heard about. And then our flagship event is our summit, which we hold every year, and we were just completed that in December, holding 2017 summit, which was huge success with over 150 attendees and our keynote address from the mayor of Oklahoma City that was able to share some experience and wins in establishing a built environment that's really conducive towards a good quality of life and a healthy lifestyle for his residents. Southern Nevada Strong's also been working on supporting and educating our community around tenants within the plan and helping all of our local jurisdictions kind of accomplish their own elements of that plan. So sometimes we lend help to the medical district or the Henderson Strong Initiative, and we've done some additional workshops and convenings around new ideas and new programs. So in 2017, we held a summit around electric vehicles, also around urban agriculture, and we had a small meeting with State Senator Julia Ratty to talk about affordable housing as she's developing an interim committee for 2018 to discuss statewide affordable housing issues, not just for the affordable housing, but also for supportive housing and workforce housing. And then a large tenet of Southern Nevada Strong in the last year has been looking at ways to increase public participation in the planning process for all of our member agencies and regional partners. So we're developing a toolkit to come up with templates and plans to engage the public on input and feedback into whether it's meetings or surveys or other tools that can be useful for all of our regional partners. We have developed the first output of that toolkit, which is an engagement or a map on our website that showcases all of our census information and demographics within the valley, and people can really look at where people live and what language they speak and who's in a specific neighborhood to include in their planning process as they want to go target a specific neighborhood for feedback or look at where people live of their ideal demographics to go include in their planning. So we're really proud of that, and then this year we will continue to develop additional tools to go in that toolkit. So overall, we've had a very busy year, and we're really excited about what's coming forward in 2018. We'll be continuing to work on the grants work plan as well as the community engagement toolkit, and we look forward to working closely with the onboard process to support transit-oriented development conversations here in the Valley as well. We will be compiling an accomplishments report for this year, so stay tuned. That should be finished and public in February. So,
Thank you, Ray. So hopefully you can appreciate that Southern Nevada Strong has been busy, and that's in large part to a lot of the good work that all of you are doing around this table. So obviously the work of Southern Nevada Strong is really about all the partners that are a part of that process. And so what we try to do is just be that connective tissue or help facilitate some of those discussions. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that's happening in the community. And one thing that we'd be happy to share with you if you haven't seen it already, I know a lot of these faces around the table are familiar in terms of how many times we talk to you about these issues, but we have new ways that we're measuring progress as well that Ray mentioned. And so if you want to see progress reports or we've updated the indicator dashboard, all that information is available. Have we posted that on our website? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go to southernmadastrong.org and you can see all that information there as well. So anyway, to the extent that you all want more information related to Southern Nevada Strong, let us know. If you want less information, let us know too, I guess. But we're trying to get the word out, and we're also trying to beef up our social media presence. Thanks to the GAM team and our team for doing that as well. So there's no action on this agenda item, Mr. Chairman. So, Sean.
I'm sorry, one quick question. Who was the state legislator leading up the statewide affordable housing?
Senator Julia Reddy. She's from Sparks. She was a Sparks councilwoman, and she's the chair of that committee. Their first meeting for the interim committee is January 23rd, and I believe we're on the agenda to provide some relevance as far as what SNS says about housing. It'll be about affordable housing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Item 8, receive regional staff updates.
All right, Mr. Chairman, it's standard item for the Metropolitan Planning Subcommittee to receive information in an informal manner from staff about regional activities in Southern Nevada. And so this is just an opportunity to kind of go around the room for anyone who wants to give an update on current initiatives that they're working on.
Starting here, Mr. Chair. With regards to EPA's actions, most recent actions on the 2015 ozone standard of 70 parts per billion. Currently, we're at 74 parts per billion. We are not meeting that standard, the 2015 standard. The EPA had come out in December 28th with what they call a 120-day letter, giving us 4 months to respond to their intentions of classifying us as non-attainment for the 2015 standard. We had recommended that the non-attainment area include not only the Las Vegas Valley, but also portions of Apex area, excluding the Moapa Indian Reservation and the Mesquite area. We did have a monitor out in the Apex area that was actually violating the standard based on design value, which was calculated on the years 2014, 15, and 16. If you looked at the design value that is calculated on 15, 16, and 2017, which we're allowed to do now because the year has turned over, we would be in attainment out in Apex. So our intentions are to respond to the EPA, which we're required to do by February 28th, requesting that the Apex area be excluded from the non-attainment area based on the new data. We suspect that they will probably agree with that assessment. And in addition to that, when we originally, 2 years ago, recommended the non-attainment area be the Las Vegas Valley, the Apex portion of that airshed, excluding the Moapa Indian Reservation, and we had to also include the Ivan Paul Jean airshed because of a violation using the 2014, 15, and 16 data. Again, because of the year has changed. That area is now in attainment, and so we're going to revise our request that area also be excluded. So the bottom line is that we will be going in front of our intentions are to go in front of the Board of County Commissioners with a recommendation to be sent back to the EPA that the only areas that be in non-attainment of the 2015 ozone standard be the Las Vegas Valley. We have high hopes that will most likely occur. More to come.
Hey, Ron. Once the county responds to the EPA notice, how long does EPA then have before they make their determination, and sort of how does that timing play out? Because that will potentially impact our adoption of amendments and when we have to do.
Sure, that's a good question. The 120-day letter means their intentions is to formalize and tell us what the non-attainment area will be, and our designation 120 days from the December 28th date. So you're looking at April of 2028, 2018, April.
And it becomes effective?
Yes,
the moment they make that
April of
determination?
of this year. However, the EPA can, the Clean Air Act does provide for a 1-year extension for their review.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's helpful to know because that does affect our work as a metropolitan planning organization for RTP amendments like we just processed, for example.
I might also include that EPA's modeling shows that the Las Vegas Valley would be in attainment of the 70 parts per billion standard by year 2024, which is 6 years away. Our modeling shows that we will most likely be in attainment by 2022. With the designation, we have 3 years to be in attainment of that standard, or we would have to write an attainment state implementation plan. So if you look at 2018 and you add 3 years to that, you're at 2021. Our modeling is showing that we're going to be in attainment by 2022. With a 1-year extension, I mean, we're right there on the cusp, hoping that the longer we delay, longer the EPA delays, the better off we are. Thank you.
Any other reports? Okay. Number 9, conduct a public comment period for citizens' participation. Any other public comment? Well, thanks. That's where
Thank you,
adjourned.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Metropolitan Planning Subcommittee.